Greetings. I just want to weigh in on this Mr. Vegas and Gino Jennings situation that took place the other day. In case you all missed it, there was an epic battle of the minds in Jamaica in which Mr. Vegas, a well-known dancehall artist from Jamaica, all right, he sang a lot of hits over the years. But Mr. Vegas has recently begun to explore alternative consciousness. And in exploring alternative consciousness, Mr. Vegas was on the evangelical Christian train for a while. But most recently, the brother has discovered African consciousness. Some might think the brother is an atheist, but I think what Mr. Vegas is doing, he's questioning the status quo. The status quo which demands that we follow a particular religious framework, right? Without actually questioning the history and the accurateness of the accounts, and without taking into account the fact that Africans created spirituality, so anything that exists today stemmed from the African spiritualities that we developed over the thousands of years that we were creating civilizations. But be that as it may, Mr. Vegas engaged in a debate with a Christian clergyman from America. His name is Reverend Gino Jennings. Gino Jennings. Now, this brother, he talks like, what's the name of the villain from Silver Surfer? I said Dark Side. This man talks like Dark Side. He just have like a very menacing tone when he speaks. He sound like he just spitting venom every time he speaks. Gino Jennings, I don't think it's possible for him to whisper. I think his vocal cords have been damaged to the point where this brother, even if he tried all day and all night, he can't bring his voice to a whisper. Because he sounds very snarling, very aggressive 100% of the time. But why I mentioned this situation, everything basically came to a climax at the debate in which religious fundamentalism used brute force to trump the esoteric and rhetorical arguments of Mr. Vegas. But I watched the presentation, and Mr. Vegas hit on some good points. He was talking about the audio clip from the Reverend Jennings, in which the Reverend can be heard and seen calling black women whores if they wear makeup, and he called them whores if they wear a certain type of clothing. And he even went so far as to say is even if they're in the choir, right, singing and praising their God together, he said that they are nothing but a singing whore and a shouting whore. This man, he's very out of order. He's speaking about black women as if they are prostitutes. He even used the term. He said they are nothing but prostitutes for wearing these type of clothing, blase, so on, so on. But when you consider it, I'll be honest, the Rastafari community has been speaking against skin bleaching and false hair for many years. But we are people we have an organic spirituality. We are not this carbon copy Greco-Roman Christianity. We come from the soil. We come from among the people. And we know the history of how these elements became so popular in our society, we know that we under intense psychological programming from the colonial era, and also most of our um, symbols of beauty come from people who are not necessarily a part of our race, people who don't look exactly like us, people who have some type of um, physical type that is, in some cases, even the opposite of the African physical type or the phenotype. And this has been a problem for many years, to the extent that women and men turning around and bleaching their skin for acceptability in a world that is dominated by people of a lighter hue, in a world where a lighter hue is more readily accepted than a darker hue. So we understand how we came to this condition. Even though we burn it out, we speak against it quite often, and we let the people know that it is nothing but the remnants of a scarred psyche, a scarred psychology, nothing but the remnants of the plantation era brainwashing and mental programming that we went through during the slave trade and the years preceding the slave trade. And so, when the Reverend Jennings speaks about it, he speaks about it with a lot of filth in his mouth, a lot of vitriol, as if he doesn't like women at all. But when the Rastafari community spoke about it, we just speak about it in a loving way, let the sisters know, and the brothers, that scarring our skin, burning our pigment, what they call pigment, our melanin, burning our melanin is a symptom of insanity. And it's an insanity that was born during the slavery era, and that was passed on culturally and systematically in our communities around the world. But they pick up Mr. Vegas. What I really wanted to get to, to show that religious fundamentalism, the last resort, is brute force and brutality. People point fingers at the Muslims, but here we have a group of Christians, when they couldn't control the narrative or control the dialogue, physically assaulted Mr. Vegas. They picked him up like a rag doll and carry him out the hall by his neck, by his shoulders, by his elbows, lift him off the ground and walk him down the steps out of the building. That really shows that religious fundamentalism can be used as a tool or a weapon of evil, because people can be so easily swayed by the rantings of a speaker that they can get whipped up into a frenzy and actually attack someone. Because if he told them, instead of usher him out, he sounded like Trump at one of Trump's rallies. Get his ass out of here. Usher him out. And so while he was saying usher him out, Mr. Vegas, he didn't give up on this tape. He wanted them to play the tape. Mr. Vegas said, play the tape. And so apparently hearing Mr. Vegas call for the tape to be played was the straw that broke the camel's back. Reverend Jennings had enough. He transformed into full cult leader in front of the crowd, and he started to berate Mr. Vegas, follow him around the stage, prevent him from making a cohesive statement, like just interjecting at every turn, trying to control the narrative, which is what controlling people do. But this man, with the voice of a maniac, drowned out everything Mr. Vegas was trying to say in the second segment, because I guess the first segment was too difficult for him to swallow. So I guess in the second segment he wanted to make sure he controlled exactly how the conversation went. But yeah, Christian fundamentalism is just as dangerous as Islamic fundamentalism, because if it's in the wrong hands, it could actually result in physical violence, murder, malice, enmity, all of the things that they speak against are actually produced from these state of affairs. But I just wanted to comment on these things. Just let me know what y'all think about the Mr. Vegas, Reverend Jennings situation. Give me a comment, like, comment, subscribe. One love.